another episode of Huz Ghost Stories. So, as always, I'm Andrew Huzar, Reiki Master and Medium from Huzar Reiki and Readings. We've got research expert Sean, and then Professor Alex Wheaton, paranormal enthusiast, and today our special guest, Charlie. He is a paranormal experiencer. He just doesn't like anything ghostly.
He does have his friend that lives in the vents.
He does not like ghosts at all, but he is joining us for this episode, which today we are looking at probably the Erie area's most famous haunt.
Definitely.
It is even in Stephanie Winstick's Ghosts of Erie County's book. Has a couple pages on it.
I'll say this story actually is known outside of the Erie County area. Anyone who's been to Erie or heard about Erie, PA, this is one of like 3 legends that people know about the area, with Axe Murder Hollow is the other real big popular one. But what is ours today?
The Gudgeonville Bridge area. So I say area because the original bridge, which stood for a hell of a long time, was burnt down by a couple of dick arsonists. We obviously don't like to use any foul language, but if you burn down a historical bridge, I think that classifies you forever as a dick.
You burn down anything historical, you've earned the right to be called a dick.
Yeah, so a couple of dicks, they burnt it down willingly. Wasn't like it was an accident. But the area itself is what remains haunted, with tons of ghost stories. And it's a good thing we're not out to prove or debunk anything, because so many paranormal teams have gone there. There's already so much evidence out there. So I am excited for us to be able to get out there and see what we find. But it's definitely one of the most famous haunts out of Erie. Probably one of the most active. And definitely, probably, Gorge and Erie Cemetery are well known, but this might be the most famous place that we're going to,
Yes.
I'd say.
As I was saying, it's known not just in Erie County. Like this is one of those nationally known historical haunt things for our entire nation. Like I know famously for Pennsylvania, a lot of people know Gettysburg simply because that was a war site during the Civil War. But anyone who's into ghost stories and anything paranormal is familiar with the Erie County Gudgeonville Bridge area.
And I'm excited. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm going to let Sean get into his history here. But one of the things that's also exciting is this area doesn't have any real generic ghost stories.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have, like, your woman in white or your wailing woman. Like, it's got specific ghost stories and names and legends that really make it exciting that you can know. So I'll let Sean jump in with his history.
This is a good follow-up to the Holmes house where we had no names. This is very much very focused. So.
Another little palate cleanser too.
Yeah.
So, the Gudgeonville Covered Bridge was built in 1868 across Elk Creek in Girard Township. The name of the bridge has become as legendary as the paranormal stories surrounding the area. One famous story involves a man named Obadiah Will, who in the mid-1800s was delivering a mule named Gudgeon to another man in Meadville. While crossing the covered bridge, the sound of I always mess this word up, calliope, calliope playing startled the mule and stopped him dead in his tracks. The music was coming from barges carrying Dan Rice's circus floating along the creek. The story diverges here. In one tale, the mule dropped dead from fright. The darker story involves Will beating the stubborn mule to death in frustration. In both legends, the mule was buried along the banks of the creek, and the name Gudgeonville was painted on both entrances of the bridge. The bridge was sadly burned down by arsonists in 2008, and the oldest of 3 covered bridges in the Erie area was lost.
The Gudgeonville Bridge and its surrounding area is a paranormal hotspot featuring EVPs, light anomalies, and apparitions. One famous disembodied sound is that of hooves walking on a wooden bridge. said to be that of the deceased mule Gudgeon. Others believe the hoof sounds come from a headless body riding on the back of a black stallion with red eyes and a tail similar to the headless horseman. Images and EVPs have been captured of this horseman who is believed to have been a soldier killed during the War of 1812, where beheading was a common practice.
Yes, just real quick side note. For those of you that are familiar with the story of the Headless Horseman, that is a New England area, part of the original 13 colonies, and Pennsylvania was part of those original 13 colonies, so it's very much, this is a regional story. You don't typically hear much about Headless Horseman out west, but in this area, that it's a very common theme, so just kind of to drive that historical point home. So this is where we get to tie back to our very first episode. There's second one, not first one. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. Another story about this area is another area that's known as the Devil's Backbone. This time it's a cliff, where on April 19th, 1964, a young girl named Darlene fell 225 feet to her death. So in that area, in this area, the voice of the little girl has been said to be heard and picked up as an EVP. Where the bridge was still standing, the apparition of Darlene could be seen walking on the bridge on moonless nights. But most terrifyingly, the girl could also be seen reliving her fall to her death on nights around the anniversary of her death. So, just to add to the creepiness of the Devil's Backbone and the paranormal stuff at that time. Sean, you want to wrap us up?
Finish us up. Though the bridge no longer stands, paranormal experts have stated that the paranormal activity has not waned, and it has seemingly increased since the tragic destruction of the bridge. If you visit this landmark, please do be careful, and if you are patient, you may hear the giggle of Darlene, or if you're really lucky, you might catch a glimpse of Erie's own Headless Horseman.
So this is a spot I have never been to, and I am incredibly excited to get there. One thing too, I found in early research was James McCann. He runs a paranormal group in Erie, and he mentioned he piggybacked it off of Darlene, but I couldn't find any other mention of her, and I'm curious to know if it's another spirit. But there's you can see a little girl walking the riverbank, specifically with one shoe.
Yes.
Looking for her shoe, and I've never heard that tale a second time, or at least recorded a second time. But it would be interesting to know if that's another part of Darlene, or if there was another little girl that passed there. Stephanie Winsick's book on this mentions 2 girls that died up there, but the book is short, so it doesn't dive into either of them. So there's not much on that second girl at all, but definitely an incredibly haunted place, especially like Sean said the history, but I guess we'll dive into Obadiah and his mule first here. Like we said, very specific, no generic ghosts here. Like even Dan Rice is a huge eerie figure. Do we still have Dan Rice days even, or do we stop those in town at the festival?
I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
I believe they were happening before COVID, but I don't know if it's still a thing.
I'll say, we have to take that with a grain of salt,
Yeah.
or a grain of rice in this case.
Exactly.
The last 2 years have been weird.
Dan Rice, we used to have a festival and parade for him, so the fact that he's even in this legend at all is kind of cool to me.
There's actually legal proceedings at one point where Obadiah tried to actually sue Dan Rice because of the death of the mule, and lost product because this was a mule he was delivering, regardless of the fact that there's the potential he beat the mule to death. But we're talking actually documented evidence,
Which is so cool. I mean, it's regardless of how the mule died, that's still a sad story. And if those are his hooves, which they very well could be, part of me wants to know if that's like him finally crossing the bridge or still trying to cross the bridge, something like that. But like this headless horseman really piqued my interest because as a kid that was always my favorite story.
Yeah.
Was the headless horseman and Ichabod Crane. Of course, in the story it wasn't a real headless horseman, but since there's so much documented proof of this one, it makes me very enthusiastic that we do have our own headless horseman, and especially with the history, the War of 1812 and everything, this area just has a ton of activity. We've got the tragic death of 1 to 2 girls, which, as Sean said, be careful in this area. As we saw in Wintergreen Gorge, Devil's Backbone is more of a path. Here, it's just a sheer cliff.
Yeah. And it's the same. It's sandstone and shale. Like, this is deteriorating ground, and, you know, at any time, some of the ground can give. So, please do be careful if you decide to visit this area.
No, of course. And,
I've actually never was on the bridge. I was in the gorge before, and of course, when we visited the gorge, it was in the middle of the night. And anytime you're out in the middle of the night, all of the sounds around you that you're not used to hearing will get the better of you, and it is a spooky place. Not to discredit anything that's been captured, but as we said before, if you're going into any of these locations with fear, anger, if you're depressed, if you're upset, everything's going to affect you more, whether it's paranormal or anxiety. So this is a place with it's very rife and full of paranormal stuff. So it's going to be interesting what we see.
yeah, and just what's funny to me, I don't know if funny is the right word, maybe interesting is a better word for these topics. Wintergreen Gorge had one story of a ghost, and it was a nice story, Tim and Dutch. A pretty similar geographic area, nature, water running through there, very
It's a
historical
gorge.
battles. Yeah, it's another gorge. The tales and ghost stories on this one are not as positive as Wintergreen Gorge.
They're not negative, but they're
Yeah.
not positive.
It's not a
at
happy
all, yeah.
happy story or happy ending. And I was watching some clips from James McCann to prepare for this, and he got some of like some EVPs, like spirits saying like "help me" and stuff like that. So I mean,
A lot of things saying, get out,
Yeah.
leave.
like it's not. The early stuff does not pin this as much of a happy place as Wintergreen Gorge did. I'm excited to get out here and see what we've got, but I do find it interesting that 2 gorges in the same
Geographical,
county,
yeah.
geographical area.
Funny enough, not the same creek, though.
No,
Yes, interestingly enough.
and like relatively same histories.
Yeah.
Both 1812s, both waterways.
Which is a common theme here in Erie. A lot of our history is 1812 related.
Yeah.
I mean,
Battle of Lake Erie.
like we said, one of the most famous people in the Erie Cemetery is Daniel Dobbins, who Dobbins Landing.
Yeah.
He participated in the War of 1812. Like we said, battles of 1812 were on Wintergreen Gorge, as well as, you know, Gudgeonville Gorge, which is another thing I want to mention. There is no Gudgeonville. There is no area around here known as Gudgeonville.
No.
There was no family. There was no land. Literally, the gorge is Gudgeonville because the bridge was named Gudgeonville.
Yeah, and which all the research I did backed up what you said too, that the mule was Gudgeon.
And is heading to Meadville.
The bridge just got named
Gudgeonville.
after this
Yeah.
mule, which I want to know. You said there were legal proceedings to sue. I wonder how big that was at the time, and I wonder if
Right.
that's what led to the bridge being named Gudgeonville.
Right. Well, and there's other things too. One of the things that I saw in doing research, because there's there's not a lot of recorded history when it comes to naming of locations.
Mm-hmm.
There's apparently fish in the area that are known as gudgeons. There was claimed to have been a factory where they produce gudgeons, which is a part of a hinge. A couple different stories as to where the name came from, but the most popular belief is the story of the mule.
I like that story.
Yeah, and I'm excited, first time out there, to see what we're able to capture on camera. So like I said, with the almshouse, for my expectations, I'm almost expecting to catch something, just because of how active the place is. I don't know specifically what. I don't know if it would be lights or orbs. I don't know if it would be like any voices or anything like that. I expect us to definitely feel these energies, especially with that running water. I mean, if anyone's killed on Lake Erie, Elk Creek is a runoff of Lake Erie. Bodies left and right were probably just floating down that stream. So I mean, there's probably spirits that didn't even die there that are just there stuck.
Yeah.
With running water, you get that a lot.
And like we said, we heard of the beheadings.
Yeah.
That's a very violent, traumatic, instantaneous death. I mean,
When do you guys stop that practice? I know we were still doing it as of the War of 1812, but were we doing that still during the Civil War? I don't know. I was like, I don't know much about that kind of
I was
history.
going to say most of what I've heard in, Civil War was gut wounds.
Yeah.
Gun wounds and hangings if
Yeah.
they were sending someone to death or firing squad. I'm gonna say probably by Civil War, beheadings probably went away.
Not in France.
Not France.
We still had the guillotine until the 1900s.
Well, I mean, also wartime.
Yeah.
You're angry at these people.
Didn't France outlaw the
Please
guillotine,
don't.
like,
Please don't behead people.
Yeah.
No.
Also, just so you guys know, this is pretty apropos. It may or may not be an omen. There is literally a funeral happening right across the street right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do have a funeral going on around us right now.
It's like we timed this perfect.
So what are your expectations and hope for Gudgeonville?
Expectations. I'm expecting that we're going to at least, if not capture something, we're going to experience something. Whether it's a disembodied voice, us seeing something moving. I feel like we're going to experience something there. Of all of these places, that's where we're going to have an experience the most. Hopes. I hope nothing comes home with us, because there's tales of stuff following people home from there. Like we said, this wasn't a happy place, so there is a lot of negativity here, much like the almshouse. The only difference being that here people were brutally murdered. So, hoping nothing comes home with us.
As far as my expectations and hopes, so I've been to this area once before, but I was really young, and I don't remember who it was, but I think it was a friend's parent. Just kind of was like, oh, the local legend, and drove us like over the bridge, but it's like, I don't remember anything from that because it was such a long time ago. So I'll be excited to and interested to return to this area as an adult and actually, with the intention of just experiencing it. So, but definitely I'm in the same boat as Sean. I don't want to come back with anything.
And as we've said on previous things, this is a place open to the public. There's no fences. There's wildlife there. When I was there, we heard coyotes, which is why we left. There's wild animals here, so if you do ever visit this place, just
Be safe.
be mindful, be careful, be respectful.
And it probably goes without saying, since this Devil's Backbone is not a path, it is just a sheer cliff, do not go near it.
Yeah.
Safe distance.
Yeah, from everything we've heard, Sean said and everything, Darlene, when she was near it, apparently she was just playing near it, and then right off the edge. I mean,
Swan dive too.
Yeah.
They went into detail. She went head first.
I mean, don't go near it. Definitely check out the bridge. Be respectful. Don't be an arsonist. There is obviously a new bridge out there because you have to drive across the creek still. I guess.
It's fireproof from what I hear.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Apparently, I think it was last year, maybe like a year before that. They were. They still had the remains from the actual bridge, and they gave it away to the people of
3
Gerard.
years ago.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Anyone that wanted a piece of the original Gudgeonville Bridge could take it. And because they did a whole news story on it, and I actually wanted to go out there, but I didn't have a chance. But it was legitimately anyone that wanted a piece got in line, and everyone got one piece of the original bridge that was left. Yeah. It was really cool.
It was sad that the bridge was burned down. One of the things I read when we were doing our research is it was no longer structurally sound. So they said to replace the bridge, it would have been at least $100,000. So it's awful that it was burned down. May or may not have been an insurance fraud thing, because it sounds like they did more good burning it down. The bridge was a covered bridge here, and oldest covered bridge here. But it was disrespected quite a bit. It was full of graffiti. It wasn't in good condition when it was burned down.
No. Didn't even get to make a restaurant out of it when they retired it.
Right?
No, but I am excited to get out there for my first time, and we'll see what we find. Yeah. Charlie will not be coming with us.
Alright, so we did find the Gudgeonville Bridge. We're going to go up, and we're going to see if we feel anything, if anything happens.
First time at the gorge, it was beautiful and the bridge was nice, but it would be epic to see or have seen the original covered bridge for the historicness of it and just the beautiful scenery that covered bridges naturally are.
Rob, as I was saying to Sean, that's from the Ice Age. Like, that's where the water level was. Mm-hmm. To think that this entire area over here was underwater at one point in time. Okay. But I have to wonder, as far as recent history is concerned, high was it at what point? Because just like most of the water here, it varies. Yeah. If we get heavy rains, it'll fill up a lot. It'll fill up almost to the bridge. I don't remember if it was this bridge or a different bridge, but I know that it flooded at one point. Yeah. But I have to wonder.
So the gorge itself around the bridge was absolutely gorgeous. It wasn't as scenic as Wintergreen Gorge, but the babbling brook below us and the gorge canyons around us in the woods made for very beautiful scenery. It would have been nice to be able to hike through it, kind of like Wintergreen. Below us were fish flowing through the stream. You could see up to the bends. It was just overall really pretty around us, and I think that energy from the nature and the scenic views really made this feel like a welcoming place in the daytime. Felt kind of more neutral as things went on, though.
Show me the energy flow out here. Alright, so. Alright. Show me the energy flow out here. Oh, you're so rudely interrupted. Not line of circles, straight line.
I mean, that would make sense. That's the way the river's flowing.
Yeah.
Because it's not going the other way. It's...
So are there any spirits around here? Are there a lot of different kinds of spirits? Darlene with us.
Is everyone out here a good spirit? I was hoping it was not the other way. Is Gudgeon with us? I don't know what else to ask a donkey. I've never been trained for this.
Are you an animal spirit?
Good one. Are you okay? You should feel a little okay because everyone hates your owner because the tale says he killed you.
But we named a bridge after you. And a gorge.
And a road. Do you ever leave the bridge?
No.
Are you stuck out here? Do you choose to stay at the bridge? At least he's happy being out here.
Has anybody else killed themselves here?
Has there been any suicides out here? Is there a headless horseman out here? Is it a spirit that resembles a headless horseman?
I didn't like it just stopping.
Right? Like, okay. I don't want to get my head lopped off. Do any of the spirits hurt people out here? Yeah, especially because you said they're not all good spirits. At least they don't hurt people. Ooh.
What's that?
I don't know. It's not the way the energy was flowing. I didn't ask many questions.
It breaks off, we're running.
Got that right. I'm hightailing it out. Is this your energy?
So you run in circles, huh?
Well, thank you, Gudgeon.
It was good interacting with Gudgeon to know that he was actually okay himself. And then, other than Gudgeon, we weren't having any other experiences with any other spirits until I went back and looked through the pictures. In this one here, you can see what appears to be an orb on one of the railings. The sun was not glaring off of there, and this was after the pendulum reading. So I do believe that this may have been Gudgeon, or at least another spirit, hanging out on the bridge with us. To be safe, you can even check out this next picture. The orb is roughly where Alex was standing in the last picture, but you can tell there's nothing that would cause that glare or sun reflection. And then to finish off the day, we decided to take a group picture. While walking up there, I jokingly said, if any spirits are around, feel free to join us, and Megan took this blurry picture. She decided to retake a second picture, and we got some interesting thing here. Right here, you can see an orb standing next to me. Right after I said, any spirits, come take a picture with us, and I specifically mentioned Gudgeon after the reading. So with these two pictures with orbs, it definitely appears that Gudgeon was with us, and it makes me really happy that he decided to take a picture with us. just finished our walk out at Gudgeonville Bridge. We were on the bridge for a good while. One thing I want to note, I don't think, I mean, obviously I haven't gone through any of our pictures at all here from the bridge, but I don't think that we had any recorded phenomenon, which is okay. We were on the bridge talking to Gudgeon for a little bit. Definitely
not as soothing as Wintergreen, but definitely not as oppressive as the almshouse.
No, for sure. The energy out here is a lot. I think Megan said I felt anxious and a little more like hectic, but overall it wasn't terrible. It wasn't bad. It wasn't frightening. I could definitely see if you're coming out here at night though, that almost anything would seem like it's a ghost.
There's no artificial light here, so it's dark.
And Alex did test out the acoustics, and there's not much room for echo, but it would be very, very easy to misjudge something out here. So I would definitely come during the day so you can see the view. If you come at night, definitely be careful.
Bring a flashlight.
You're going over the bridge.
Wear reflective clothing.
Yeah, because there is a lot of vehicular traffic.
And it is a tiny bridge.
Yeah, one lane.
And they fly through here.
Yeah. I'm just flipping through some pictures, but overall, I liked it out here. I would come again. Maybe next time bring some other equipment to see if anything else came up. But I think we did a lot out here. We took a lot of pictures. Beautiful place out in nature. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, so I didn't feel nearly as much of the anxious energy, but it definitely, for me, it felt very neutral. So, not positive energy, but not negative energy at all. Just kind of there, and yeah, as Andrew kind of said, Sean kind of said earlier, it's not as tranquil as Wintergreen Gorge, but it's definitely does not have the same feeling as the almshouse. So it's very much a different kind of setting. Definitely recommend coming here to see the area, but be careful, be safe, that kind of thing.
Megan, what do you think?
It was good. It's much nicer in the daytime. Years ago, I came in at night and it scared the poopy out of me. But it is very peaceful. Like Andrew said, I felt anxious. Kind of like anxious to ready to go, like ready to leave, but I was at peace standing there. It was a really weird emotion. Sean?
I was gonna say, building off of everybody, there's an anxiety to it, but it's hard to be overly anxious with, the beautiful scenery. Like I said earlier, there's a babbling brook, so it's just that calm, white noise water sound. But definitely at night, having been here with Megan, it's dark. Like, it's dark. The bridge seems even more rickety at night because you just hear every sound on it. We found out that there's potentially negative spirits here, but they're not hurting people, which is good.
It definitely, I think, leads a little credence to what Sean was talking about with the history during his research and stuff, that there wasn't anything happy really happening out here, especially with the War of 1812 and so on. So, I mean, there's definitely, like Gudgeon and Sean said, some not so happy spirits, but at least they're not hurting and they're not harmful. But definitely make sure you're coming out with clean energy, clean mind.
And if we were talking to Gudgeon, he seems happy. So,
yeah.
So the mule is happy, guys.
Mule, he is happy here. It's
Probably not beaten.
Nope.
And he said that he chooses to be here. So
he's not stuck, which is definitely pleasant. Yeah, I liked it. I could definitely feel some energies out there, so I definitely did something here. But I'm happy, nothing harmful. Thanks for tuning in everybody. This was us out at Gudgeonville. Tune in next time to see where else we go.
Bye, guys.
Welcome back to another episode of Huz Ghost Stories. Topic. I want to say I'm really freaking excited about this. We're looking at Jaquin's Pond, our trails, and 3 bridges in the area, ideal for hiking. George, a school bus driver, who unintentionally killed a young boy in a school bus accident. George hung himself in the swamp.
This area is home to mysterious depths of the dark paths. In these woods, people claim to have the feeling of being watched, moving cold spots, high EMF readings, and batteries being drained on electric equipment.
When visiting this area, please be respectful to the wildlife and the spirits here, so this place does not become your final resting place.